basically observe the people involved in the topic of time that you're involved with. Make an overview of the different kinds of people that are engaged in the situation that you're investigating. Create a map that documents the different relations that these stakeholders may have. Elicit the different communication needs that they may have. So pretty simple. What are their needs? And different stakeholders, depending on who they are, will have a variety of different needs. You can make a map, a graphical map, of the different stakeholders that you think are key. For the person that you want to focus in the middle of the diagram, and position the other stakeholders in relation to the center. The ones that are closer are more important. The ones that are farther away have less to do with your project. Okay, and again, make sure that you've created a list of their needs, different stakeholder needs. And you're going to do an assessment. You're actually going to rank their needs as a hierarchy. So what are the issues for each of the stakeholders? Create a list of what's important to each one of the stakeholders you've identified. And I'm missing a page here. So you're going to come up with a hierarchy chart. Have you guys used those before? Stakeholders? Yeah? Okay, so okay, so here you go for this example. This is a medical situation. So you've got patients, caregivers, manufacturers, and the government as potential stakeholders. And then each of those has a need. So for the patient, it's reduction of fear, safety, cost, and comfort. And they've been ranked at the top as being most important to the least important on the bottom. Okay, so simple matrix. Stakeholders across one of the axes and needs on the other axis.
I'm confused as to why the patient and the caregiver, why they don't have a need that's closest to the axis. Like, why is that? It's because the precedence for the manufacturer it's greater financial feasibility.
So when you did that, or if you were to do with this particular example a radial pattern chart, they would have had someone like the manufacturer or the government in the center. So
I
the
see.
end user is not actually their primary stakeholder.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
So end users aren't always the primary people. Depends on who you're designing for, what you're designing for.
Oh, okay.
You'd like to think that in something to do with the medical industry that the patient would be the primary stakeholder, but not in this case. That's a good observation. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Okay, I'm going to send upload a reader that you should read on stakeholders. It's pretty detailed. There's no way I'm going to go through it in this class. It would take way too long, but try to read through it. It's a good document. So, questions about stakeholders? It's pretty simple.
Can you explain the wall of research? Like, does it have to be just images that we look at and learn from images?
Yeah, again, it doesn't have to be a wall, it should be a collection of images for you. So we're doing this project on time. What does time mean to you in the context of the project that you want to begin? So, and I don't know if this is going to be right, but fruit flies in a test tube. And so what are all the collect images that describe that to me? Who would be involved with it? Like, would it be a kid, a 5-year-old kid, or would it be a scientist? So try to create the backdrop for your project. And visual. I mean, I want you to start working visually. Okay, so personas. Personas are a tool that you create to use to validate your ideas later on. So a persona is not a real person, it's not a stakeholder, it's a construct of characteristics that represent a potential stakeholder or an end user. So a stand-in for a unique group of people who share common goals and needs. Personas have names, personalities, faces, personal backgrounds, families, and most importantly, goals. Personas provide a link to research data. They're really useful if you're working in a large organization where people are trying to do different parts of a project and combining them all in the end at one point. So a lot of high-tech firms use personas like IBM, Microsoft, Apple all use personas. They characterize the person that is going to be using their product or service in the end. And if someone in hardware is designing a component or a product, they would validate what they're doing with the stakeholder. At the same time, someone might be designing the software or the interface for the product, and they would use that very same stakeholder or set of stakeholders to validate what they're doing, so that in the end, both the software and the hardware look like they've come from the same company with the same kind of feel, the same characteristics that have gone into the design. So Apple's a great example of that. Their interface is seamless with their hardware. It's kind of a perfect balance. Whereas Microsoft isn't so much a good example of that. Sometimes the products look differently than how you'd expect them to operate. Okay. So personas are used for identifying and understanding people's needs and values in the context of an activity. And for the first project, our activity has to do with time. So your persona, when you create one or describe one, is you're going to have to describe the needs of that persona and the values. So what, in this aspect of time, what value of time are you looking at with your persona and either your service or your product? A bit more on why we use personas. So design solutions are based on real life, and data are more realistic, they're more personalized, more appropriate to a market, more innovative, and it becomes truly people-driven. So you